Quarantini Time, a show where I chat with friends and family while enjoying a delicious beverage with them. Tonight's guest is a big fan of Dirty Dancing, a hardworking nurse, and is married to one of my siblings. Please welcome my sister-in-law, Amy McCabe. Hey, Amy, welcome to Quarantini Time.
Well, hello, Laura.
What are we drinking tonight?
My son Trent calls it the Mama cocktail, and it is the mango pineapple vodka with my Diet Mountain Dew in my very nice emoji cup.
Very nice. I am having an episode 7 Quarantini Time special, the French Martini.
Ooh, that sounds good.
So you are my sister-in-law. You are married to my brother, Josh.
That is correct.
And you two have been married for 20 years now, according to my brother.
That is correct.
How did you two first meet?
I actually met your brother while I was hanging out with a friend of mine who used to live in the house that he was living in. And we went over there one night and I referred to him as the geek sitting in the corner when she told me 2 weeks later after we were going to go and see her friend Jen McCabe's brother who turned 21 that night. And I said, that's interesting. I said, you mean that geek in the corner? He doesn't look like he's over 15. And she said, well, he just turned 21. And so we met in the bar that night and kind of just started talking and maybe played a few games at the after bar that night. Yeah, it was a fun night, very memorable.
20 years later, married happily ever after.
Absolutely.
I see you always posting or watching Dirty Dancing. Now, I have a love of Dirty Dancing.
Yes.
Is it the movie you love, or is it Patrick Swayze that you love?
I think it's the story that was actually in there. At first, it was Patrick Swayze, of course, but I think as I got older and matured, it's the storyline that seems to catch me every time. And I'm sorry, but Patrick Swayze, I would have loved to have been Baby back in the 1960s. It would have been great.
Do you find yourself quoting along with the movie now as you go without even realizing it?
It's funny because I may not quote it in real life, but when the movie is on, I can say it word for word. I had a babysitting job back in 1991 where I babysat this little girl for the whole entire summer. And she was really young. She was only less than a year old. So she would have a morning nap and an afternoon nap. And it was funny because I would think to myself, for her morning nap, I'm going to watch Dirty Dancing or Cocktail or Summer School. Those were the three movies that I would choose every day. And I would mix it up like, ooh, tomorrow I'm going to watch Dirty Dancing in the morning and then I'll watch Summer School in the afternoon or vice versa or whatever. It was funny. I know the movie word for word and it's really funny because I'll sit here and watch it with Josh and he gets just mad. He's like, can I listen to the movie? And I'm like, but I know every word. So let me do it.
So you're a nurse where your patients have extended stays. I believe they live communally, right?
Correct.
So how's that going?
Well, okay, so my patients are used to having liberties where they can go in and out of town, whether they're running to the store to grab necessities or they will go into town and have a 4-hour Liberty Pass where they can, they spend a lot of time hanging out with each other, going to the local library. And then smoking is a huge, huge thing that these people do when they're on pass. You can't smoke on state grounds. And they have been quarantined. They've been staying locked at the state hospital since the middle of March. And so they're starting to get real stir crazy. They're starting to feel like caged animals because every day we take another liberty from them. Like at first, oh, you can't leave campus and go shopping. Well, that was huge for them. And then the next step is, well, now your hours at work are going to be cut because a lot of them work at the state hospital right there. And if they don't work, they don't have any money coming in. And so that's another stressor for them as the rest of the country feels. If you're not working, you don't get paid. So there's that. And then just having to be in close quarters with other people all the time. So they, eat, sleep, watch TV, do everything with these other people all the time. And we're not letting them commingle with each other units either. So now like the people that live at one certain building are there and can only be outside at certain hours. And it's just been really taxing for them. And it's taxing for us trying to figure out what to do for them. What can we do to curb the boredom? Because they're all bored. There's only so much TV you can watch.
You're still working, obviously, full-time. Josh is working full-time, but Carter's not in school. How's that going with both of you working full-time and Carter being home and doing school? And
yeah, the nice thing about Carter is that he's 16. So Everything that he's doing online is pretty much independent study. I know he's missing his welding class. He really enjoyed his welding class, which obviously he can't do now. But it was hilarious because last week he was supposed to do a PE assignment where he had to get up and he had to use a 5-pound weight, 5, 10, 15-pound weight. We don't have that stuff here. So he had to do like lunges. He had to lift it above his head. He used our cat, like our biggest cat that we have. He used that as like his dumbbell for like lifting it above his head and moving it around. And yeah, it was really funny. I'm like, Carter, what are you doing? Well, we don't have a dumbbell, but I'm using Jeffrey.
Well, at the end of every interview, I like to do my James Lipton COVID-19 questionnaire. Are you ready?
I am ready.
What is your favorite word?
The word that I say all the time, and it's actually 2 words, but when somebody tells me something, I say, oh boy. So if they tell me something good, I'm like, oh boy. They tell me something weird, I'm like, oh boy. Carter will tell me something and I'll be like, oh boy. And I say it all the time. And I forget that I say it. And I was at work one night and I said, oh boy. Somebody said something. I said, oh boy. So then I had this patient behind me that kept going, Amy, oh boy. Amy, oh boy. Like all evening long.
What is your least favorite word?
Supposedly is a word. Supposedly with the B. No, that's not a word. But the one that gets under my skin the most is Cubs. When you're talking about the food store Cub.
For people who are not in Minnesota, there is a grocery store called Cub Foods. And
Yes.
the shortened term for most people is Cubs, going to Cubs, unless you're Amy and then it drives you nuts.
Yes, correct.
Who would you most want to be in a stay-at-home quarantine with?
Probably Josh, just because he puts up with all my moods and my funny isms and things like that, and he just kind of lets stuff roll off his back. He doesn't mind that.
Who would you least like to be in a stay-at-home quarantine with?
No matter who you're stuck in quarantine with, it's going to get under your skin. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're in it with. I mean, if it's your best friend, if there's going to be quirks of other people, that's going to get under your skin after some amount of time. And there is such a thing as too much togetherness, like when you spend too much time with each other. I have a family that I'm really pretty close with that after 3 days of them spending time with each other, they seem to get on each other's nerves and they tend to fight.
Family are you talking about?
Family that I'm in pretty close contact with. And I'm always beware of the 3rd day.
There are more families out there that have the 3-day rule, huh?
Maybe there's just one that I'm pretty in tune to.
What is your favorite curse word?
It's the F-bomb. You know, and I don't have it in my everyday conversation. I don't like to use it because I think it is so offensive. But boy, when I get mad, that's the first thing out of my mouth. And Josh will attest to that too, because he's just like, well, you don't have to say it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just so effing mad.
Well, what sound or noise do you love?
I love to listen to the birds chirping. When we go out camping and we're waking up in the morning, we can hear the birds chirping. And I just think that's I just love it. But then also I like the campfire crackling. Josh talked about that the other night too. And there's just something about the campfire crackling. And I can't put my finger on it, but I do like it. I enjoy it.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Thunderstorms. I absolutely cannot stand thunderstorms. And I think that stems from my childhood when my dad would like pace the floor back and forth about thunderstorms and how dangerous they are. But we also live in a trailer house and I'm afraid of blowing away someday. So yeah, it absolutely scares me and it can be so devastating.
If you could only have one type of food during a stay-at-home quarantine, what would it be?
Pasta, any kind of pasta. Like I love my Alfredo, but I've always been a spaghetti girl too. And my lasagna, I mean, yeah, pasta is where it's at. Love it.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Acting. I did a lot of acting in high school and I loved it and I still love it and I would really love to do it. I actually thought about doing it in town here for the Merrily Players, but the kids were still really young and now I've just lost the confidence to do it.
What profession other than yours would you not like to do?
A waitress. I could not do a waitress. There's no way. With as clumsy as I am, they would end up with their Alfredo on their head or maybe some water down their back or something. I'm just so clumsy and I just don't like it when people are mad at me or if they're real picky about stuff. I don't like confrontation, so I wouldn't do real well with that.
The last question tonight. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well, I have lost so many family members in the last 5 years. that I would love him to just grasp me, give me a big, huge hug, and say, "We've been waiting for you."
Well, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I sure appreciate it.
Thanks, Laura.
Cheers to you. I finished my drink, so it's all right.
Oh, well, I'm still got plenty to go, but I've obviously had enough because my cheeks are already red.